Good morning and welcome. I'm Megan Shebeck, trustee of the DuPage Foundation and chair of the DuPage Community Transformation Partnership. That's a mouthful to say, so we will be referring to it as DCTP today. The grant opportunities that we will be talking about today are being offered through DCTP, which is a collaborative endeavor between DuPage Foundation and DuPage County. We're very excited about these opportunities and look forward to all that we can accomplish together. Our session today will be approximately 30 minutes long, with information provided by members of our DCTP committee, followed by a question and answer period. Please provide your questions in the Q&A area, and we will answer as many as possible. Thank you very much for being here today. I'd like to introduce Greg Schwartzy, DuPage County Board Member and Chair of the Human Services Committee.
Thank you, Megan, and good morning, everyone. In 2022, the county board voted to create this partnership with the DuPage Foundation and granted $10.6 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds to the foundation to administer a 5-year grant program focused on supporting social organizations that are providing assistance to DuPage County residents in the areas of food insecurity, housing instability, mental health, and substance use disorder. The partnership between DuPage County and the DuPage Foundation has been a fantastic endeavor and has resulted in amazing impact for thousands of our residents. Over the past 2 years, we have awarded $6.2 million in grants through DCTP, and with that funding, 196,000 individuals and 56,000 households have served. 4,181 counseling sessions have been provided, and 2.1 million pounds of food have been distributed. That's just a few of the stats. We will continue to document our collective impact and continue to update the metrics to share with the community. So much has already been accomplished, and we're excited to continue working collaboratively with our local nonprofits to see more impact and to continue to support DuPage residents through this partnership. Now I would like to introduce Barb Sapaniak, Vice President for Programs for the DuPage Foundation.
Well, thank you, Greg. I am so thrilled that we have this opportunity to use these funds to support those that have been adversely affected by the pandemic. The fear of COVID seems to have subsided a bit, but the resulting impact has not. And unfortunately, the effects of the pandemic and subsequent inflation have contributed to the continued escalation of needs related to food insecurity, housing instability, mental health, and substance use disorder. We know that many organizations are doing great work to help those who are struggling, and that funds are needed to support that work. However, with this DCT program, we are focused specifically on these 4 issues, and unfortunately, that does mean that we're not able to fund every type of program through this process. Organizations that are eligible to apply for our 501c3 social service agencies that primarily serve DuPage County residents. So if your organization serves a larger area, you're eligible if you have a facility in DuPage County where you deliver services. So for example, there's a few organizations that are based in Chicago, but they have an actual center out here in DuPage. You would be eligible if that's the case. If you don't primarily serve DuPage and don't have a center here, you may still be eligible if you have an advisory board that is specifically focused on programs geared toward the needs of DuPage residents. However, in that case, you would need to provide some sort of evidence that really indicates that this advisory board has been operational for a while. And regardless of the criteria that makes your organization eligible, all applicants will need to show a direct connection to one of the issue areas. So this year, we're offering 2 DCTP grant opportunities, immediate intervention and transformational. Organizations may apply for both grant opportunities as long as the requests align with the intent of each of these programs. And for both grants, recipients will be required to keep track of and submit reports detailing specific impact metrics related to the issue area for which they received a grant. So I'm going to start and talk about the immediate intervention grants. These are intended to provide funding to help organizations respond to the current needs of clients, or to quickly increase organizational capacity. So for example, grants are going to be distributed in early August, and it's expected that organizations and recipients of the grants will begin using the funds within the month. And since there is an expectation that funds will be utilized right away, we will not accept requests to hire new staff members, but we will consider supporting expanded hours for a current employee. So through immediate intervention, the minimum amount you can apply for is $20,000. There isn't a maximum, but we want you to be realistic about your capacity to manage the size of the grant that you request. So people often ask me, well, what is the right amount that we should ask for? The appropriate amount will be dependent on the size of your organization, the scope of the need, the outcomes you will be measuring, and the number of residents that you anticipate serving. Immediate intervention applications are due by 5:00 p.m. on May 24th. And then we have our transformational grants. And through this program, we are interested in supporting evidence-based programs that are focused on long-term solutions to address food insecurity, housing instability, mental health, and substance use disorder. Applicants can apply for either a 1-year or a 2-year grant. And this process will begin with the submission of an LOI, letter of intent, which is due by 5:00 p.m. on April 19th. If your organization is invited to apply, the actual application will be due July 19th, and grants will be awarded in late September. We don't know how many LOIs we'll receive, but it's unlikely that we will be able to invite everyone who submits an LOI to complete a full application. So we awarded transformational grants in 2022, and we've seen some tremendous outcomes from that funding. For example, a new counseling center was opened. A newly developed substance use disorder and mental health counseling programs have been established for under-resourced populations, and existing ones have grown. After-school programs focused on improving youth mental health have expanded. New systems have been implemented at food pantries to increase efficiency, and a program to stabilize families facing homelessness has expanded. And these are just a few examples of the types of transformational grants that we have already funded, but I'm sure you have ideas that you would like to implement to transform the delivery of your organization's services. And I want to add that one of the extraordinary benefits of receiving a transformational grant is that our consultant, Deb DeVere, will be working closely with your team to help with implementation and with problem solving. Listed on this slide are the types of grants we will not consider through this process. And I want to specifically call your attention to the restriction for the purchase of food. We are not funding the purchase of food for immediate intervention grants because the DuPage County Board has been allocating ARPA funds to support food pantries. But we will consider supporting food purchases for transformational grants if it's a critical component of the overall project. And for both grant opportunities, we will consider applications for capacity needs such as refrigerators, freezers, software, hardware, or vehicles. All LOIs and applications are submitted through the DuPage Foundation's grant portal, and that link is available on the Foundation's website at dupagefoundation.org. And for those of you who have previously applied to the Foundation, you will continue to use that account. If you have not applied in the past, you'll need to create an account when you initially go to the site. And once again, transformational LOIs are due by 5:00 on Friday, April 19th. Immediate intervention applications are due by 5:00 on Friday, May 24th. And I can't emphasize enough that to be fair to everyone, we will not accept any LOIs or applications that are received after 5:00 on the respective due dates. Internet problems in particular seem to cause a problem at the most inconvenient times. And I personally learned that the hard way just this week. So please allow plenty of time to submit your requests. Now I'd like to introduce Mary Keating, DuPage County Director of Community Services.
Thanks, Barb. So a team made up of board and staff members from both the foundation and the county, as well as community members familiar with the DuPage Human Service landscape, will review the LOIs for transformational grants, the applications for the immediate intervention grants, and the full proposals from organizations that are invited to apply from the transformational LOI process. The evaluation team will be considering some of the following questions when assessing grant LOIs and applications. Is the community need relative to the request clearly described? Is there a clear description of the program, evidence of the strategy's effectiveness, and indication as to how outcomes will be measured? Has the population that will be served been negatively impacted by the pandemic, and will resources and services be deployed in an equitable manner? Is there evidence that the organization has the capacity to implement their project and deploy all funding by the ending date of that particular grant? Has the organization demonstrated that they have the capability to provide detailed reporting on the use of the grant? Does the applicant organization have experience providing programs in one of these issue areas? Does the program budget clearly detail how funding will be spent in each expense area? For example, if funding were requested for outreach, we would be looking for details of the estimated cost of both the supplies needed as well as the salary expenses associated with outreach activities. And finally, is the organization financially healthy? I'd now like to introduce Deb Duvere, who will provide information about the financial documents that you'll need to submit. Deb is serving as a consultant on the DCTP grant program.
Thank you, Mary. Good afternoon. I think it's safe to say it's afternoon now, so it's great to have so many of you. It's important to understand the required financial forms for the applications. There are 4 forms. The financial indicators form, which is various measures of the health of the organization, the current fiscal year operating budget, your most recent 990 form, and the audited financial statements that reflect your 3 most recent years of financials. Since this is an ARPA grant program with the funds being provided by the federal government, there are increased reporting requirements. The DuPage Foundation will be reporting back to the county, and then the county will be required to submit a report to the U.S. Department of the Treasury. As a result of these reporting requirements, the foundation will be collecting more financials than we usually do through our other grant programs, and also our financial team will be applying greater scrutiny in the review of these. One thing that's really important to note is that we do need to have the audited financial statements conducted by an independent audit firm that reflects the 3 most recent years. Unfortunately, that does mean that any organizations that do not have that available will not be eligible to apply. Another recommendation, since there are more required forms and they may be more complicated, is to try to have your finance person and or accountant, somebody that's really familiar with the different terms and knows how to find the information, help you complete these forms. That way you'll be assured that there will be, complete and accurate for the review. Also, if you are awarded a grant, a recommendation would be that you either keep a separate bank account or you develop a tool or some kind of a system where you can clearly track the funds that were spent for this grant. That will be important later because when you submit your interim and your final reports, you'll have to show the documentation for exactly how the funds were spent for this grant. Also, we will have an audit and our auditor will be looking at the information we receive, and they will randomly select grantees and ask for additional information. So you should be prepared to provide receipts, invoices, show payroll expense support, overhead allocations, various things like that, outreach, supplies expense. You're going to have to show the support for that if you get selected. So thank you for joining the call and thank you for all you do in our community. And I'll turn it back over to Megan for questions.
Thank you very much, Deb. And